It's time to focus on the things you need, the things you deserve. You deserve a healthy body, supplements that get you moving and keep you moving, that make you feel good, look good, do good. And they shouldn't contain GMOs, artificial ingredients, or heavy metals, ever. Supplements that are clinically studied, use proven absorption technologies, are designed by scientists, and are ethically sourced and produced. Supplements with everything you need, nothing you don't. You deserve a company that you can trust, that's dedicated to safe manufacturing practices and third-party testing, that ensures the highest quality of effectiveness from extraction of ingredients all the way to the composition of the packaging. Wait a second. You deserve to see the process. You deserve a company led by a CEO with a deep belief in the power of people, dedicated to inspiring entrepreneurs to achieve success. A company with a phytonutrient chemist and expert on natural molecules who is obsessed with human health and has your best interest in mind to design its products. A board comprised of talented doctors from around the world. You deserve to be surrounded by people you trust and look up to. Empowered ambassadors that inspire wellness every day. Leaders who are rooting for you to be the best version of yourself. A community that works hard and plays hard. You deserve to experience adventures that take you around the world, and you deserve to be recognized for your hard work. It's time to get what you deserve. It's time to shift your focus. 3.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Empowerment Tuesday. I'm Dr. Alicia Clevenger, and I'm excited to be here with you to share wherever you're at in the world, whether it's good evening, good morning, or good day. I come to you from Des Moines, Iowa, right in the heartland of the United States. I actually live in a small town right outside of there called Johnston, and I never in a million years thought I'd be on a Zoom talking about anything with leadership. And so I want to start by sharing my story for those of you who don't know who I am or are new to 3. By trade, I'm a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor almost 25 years. My specialty is pediatrics and nutrition. And so I had a very, very busy career for many years. I had a very busy practice. I just did about 50 or about 500 people a week for about 15 full years. And then I used to jump on a plane and I would fly all over the United States and I would teach other chiropractors about what I was doing and what we were doing there. But in truth, I just used my hands and I would adjust people. Like that's what I knew. It was fun when I was in my 20s and 30s. And then I got married. I had 3 children. I lost both my parents and it really became the thought of, is this it? Is this the hamster wheel, right? I was working 70 hours a week. I was paying people to watch my children, fold my laundry, mow my lawn. Like that was the life we were living. And I didn't want to live that way anymore. I knew what it was like I said, I didn't have my parents and I wanted to be home with my children more. So in 2015, we made a decision and I walked away from full-time practice. I stayed home with my kids. We gave up a very big 6-figure income to be able to do that. And I ran for public office. And that was a little wild and crazy during the times of COVID. And then I was making the decision, like, what was I going to do? My husband was like, hey, chop, chop, you used to make money, right? And I did. He's like, you used to make good money. But I didn't want to go back to full-time practice because it was going to mean I was going to be the mom that was showing up at the very end of the basketball game or the football game or the dance competition and like praying they didn't notice I hadn't been there the whole time because that's really where I was, if I showed up at all. And so I had gotten so used to having my time freedom. And so when I was introduced to this platform, it was through a friend of a friend. She reached out to me one day. I was out shoe shopping and she said, I don't know what you're doing, but I have a friend here and I think you need to take a look at what she's doing. It's worth your time to take a look. And I knew of this friend and I thought, I'm interested, I'm open. And so I went and I listened, and in my gut, I knew I was all in. I didn't say it out loud though. And I sat there and I thought, what if? Like, what if this is the next big thing? What if this is the thing that could help me be home with my kids, build a career around my family rather than at the expense of my family? What if this could be something that could allow me to be at the things I wanted to be as a mom, but still earn that income that we had had for so many years and that we were really, really missing in our lives? And so I jumped all in, and here we are. And 2 years later, we're doing that. We are building these teams of people that are able to go out and share three. And I've been able to be around my children and be with my children and be at all of the things. And I've also been able to earn a substantial income doing that. And so for myself, it's the best of both worlds. I get to do all the things I love. There's a lot of hard work to it. I wouldn't tell you that it's just been easy and peaches and cream, right? You have your wall kicking moments. But the truth is that I know what we're building here, and it's something absolutely amazing. And so tonight I'm here to share with you just some of the leadership and action, like what how we got here and how we're leading with our team and what we're doing. So like I said, if you would have told me a few years ago I would be doing anything like this or talking about leadership, I would have told you you were crazy. My hands were my income, and I was trained to adjust people, help people feel better, and that was really it. But all this concept of teams and systems and duplication, that really honestly wasn't part of my world. And so I was not the person people came to for that. People came to me to feel better. They didn't come to me for like leading a vision or anything like that. So as this began, and I'm starting into three, um, it was really a choice of I either had to learn something new than my brain had always done, or so it was kind of a go or grow situation. Like you had to grow or I wasn't gonna make it, right? Because I knew what I wanted out of this, and it was big goals and big dreams. So I knew I had to grow. And so one of the stories that I love to tell is how when I came into this, I was coachable. I did what I was told, and I started talking to people, and I started sharing, and I started enrolling people, and it was super exciting. And all of a sudden, like these people are enrolling, and I'm building these people. And I remember one day turning to my upline, Holly DeMott, and saying, um, what am I going to do with all these people? Because I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. And she's like, you're going to lead them. And you've heard the term deer in headlights, right? Like that was me. I was like, I don't know what that means. I don't know. Like, what do you mean lead them, right? And so really that moment taught me something really valuable. Leadership is not about knowing everything. And there's so many people in this business that think I'm scared to talk to people until I know everything. What if they enroll? What will I do with them? And the truth is not, it's not about knowing everything. It's about being willing to learn and to grow and to serve and like to step outside your box a little bit. I had zero experience in this industry, none. But what I did have is I had an absolute 100% passion for these products. I knew that right out of the gate. People know me, know I love products. I had a really big belief. I wanted to help other people. That's in my nature. That's who I am. And I just had this like fire in me that I wanted to go build something that could change people's lives, even my own, even my own. Like that's where I wanted to start. I didn't want to go back to that 70 hours a week of practice. I didn't want to go back to four walls. And so fast forward to now, and that's what we're doing. And it was because I kept showing up, was consistent, plugged into the systems, and was coachable. And so really leadership is not a title you earn. Like you don't do this business and one day wake up and Daniel sends you a certificate and says like it's time to lead. Like that's not how this happens. It's a decision that you make. It's a decision that you make every day, and that why knowing why you're doing this. And so that really what drives me, and that's a big thing that we work on. So I would ask you, do you know your why? Like, do you really know it? If somebody says to you, what's your why? Why are you doing this? Can you put it out in one sentence, right? Because there's all these things that you can do to come together, but really start writing it down. And when we're done, not now, not right now while we're talking, but when we're done, I really would like you to spend 5 minutes before you go back with your family and write down why you're doing this. For me, it started with family. Losing my parents at a young age, I don't have grandparents for my children, right? Like that was a big deal for me. And so from the product side, my desire was to live this long, healthy life. Like that's why I want these amazing products, right? To be vibrant, to be able to someday be the grandparents for my children that I don't have, right? People tell me like, "Oh, my mom came over and watched the kids so we could go out to dinner." Like that doesn't exist in my world. And so grandma that shows up on Friday night. And I know like, okay, my kids are 9, 14, and 16. So I want this to be many, many, many years away, okay? But when you're leading, when your why, my conviction is so strong in that, people feel it. Like it's contagious. And so I want you to think about your why, think of all the things that you want, and then I want you to pare it down to one sentence. And then I want you to put that every single place you can think of. Put it on your bathroom mirror, put it on your phone, make it your screensaver on your phone, put it in your planner, write it for the beginning of every day, because you need something that is so strong so that when somebody tells you no, when it gets tough, when you're busy, when you're ready to crawl into bed and it's 9 or 10 or 11 o'clock at night and you think, oh, I need to make an invite for somebody, or oh, I need to reach out to two more people, like that you're like, but I have a why that's so strong. I'm going to get my 2 feet back out of bed and go back downstairs and do that because I need to do that. Like, is your why that strong? Because that's how you will move the needle in this business. So, um, I want to share some things that we've done as a team, not super fancy leadership strategies, but like actual action steps that have helped us move that needle, that have helped us grow, that have helped us build people. So, one of the most important things that we do on our team is we spend a lot of time helping people create or craft their story. Okay. And so, okay, I'm not talking like I don't mean like a fancy bio or you're not making like when I was talking to my kids earlier about they're like, what are you going to talk about? And I was talking about creating your story, like not an Instagram bio. I want it's like your simple story. Like, why are you doing this? Something that you can go and naturally share with the world. I don't do a lot of scripts. So somebody will say like, "Hey, I'm talking to a teacher. What's the script for talking to a teacher?" Like we don't do that. I share stories because stories are what connect people. When people can start just share their story, they can do that really easily. And it's not hard for them because they're not like speaking a script. They're not doing something made up by somebody else. They're really speaking their truth, right? So we walk them through 4 simple questions. The questions are, who introduced you to this? So who was it? I'll come back to them. We'll go through each one, but why why did you take a look? What have you noticed so far? And where are you going with this? So it's those questions that we want to know. So, for instance, who introduced you to this? My mom, my sister, maybe you've been in this industry before and you would say, I never thought I'd do this again, but my sister started it and I was open to taking a look. Like, who introduced you? Why did you take a look? I hear everything from the science is really great to, I trust everything my neighbor Tina tells me, right? It doesn't matter what it is. What have you noticed so far? You know what? To be honest, I didn't expect anything, but I'm less bloated, I'm moving better, or you know what? I didn't know anything about the business, but I started talking to all my friends and they're all interested too. And where are you going with this? And that could be a lot of things, but that last question is really big. Some people think that maybe they haven't started the products yet. Maybe you signed up yesterday and you're like, they said to get on this call and I haven't even tried the products yet. You can still talk about where this is going, right? You can talk about, you can say, like, you know what, I'm brand new, but I've never felt so excited about something. I've met this amazing team. I've plugged into these amazing people. I've watched some meetings. I've been scouring all this information they sent me. And honestly, I feel like I'm in the right place at the right time. Like, how exciting is that? Right. And that's somebody that hasn't even tried the products. They haven't even put them in their body. They haven't even touched the box, but it's powerful and it's real. So we don't often need, you don't need to wait for a huge transformation or a testimonial to get started. We help people create their story right out of the gate. Then once their products come, yes, your story changes, right? Like the stories can change. Your whole story is going to change. My story today isn't the story it was 2 years ago. But when people know their story, it really gives them like a foundation. It helps them be able to share confidently, again, because they're not making that script, right? They're speaking from their own experience. They're telling you, what they experience because we don't want to convince people, okay? We don't want to pull people. My team will tell you, they'll say, Alicia will say, we don't want to pull anybody around in a red wagon. And it's the truth, right? I want people that want to jump in the red, jump up and pull the handle on the wagon and run with me. You want to run? I'll run with you every single day, but I don't want to drag people around in a red wagon. It's not fun. Who wants to do that? And so, really, it's about sharing the vision with people, um, to give them that glimpse of what's possible with a company, right? So that where it's going, I don't know where it's going. None of us do, but I know that I'm with a company that's less than 2 years old, the company that's cutting edge products, a company that has people in it with a heart of gold, people that are changing lives like that is so much different than like what I call puking reach outs or like hey girl messages where you're able to actually just share your story and see if people are open. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I want to give an example. I shared my story in the beginning, so me telling my story probably doesn't have the same effect. So I'm just going to share a story to give you an example of those things that we talked about. So remember, it's who introduced you, why you took a look, what have you noticed so far, and where are you going with this? So I'm going to tell a story, and it's a true story from somebody on our team, but I'm going to be her. So she took a look. Who introduced me to this? She was introduced to this business by her friend, who's a nurse. She's a nurse as well, and her friend invited her to an event, and she didn't want to go. She got there. I was actually at this meeting. The woman sat there with her arms crossed, wanted nothing to do with this. I found out I was a chiropractor. I was like, oh, she's gonna be like a crazy chiropractor. And so she really wasn't interested. And so, but why she took a look is because her friend is a nurse. Okay. And she respects her friend, and her friend is really nice. And she had been inviting her. And so she decided to take a look. So that was her. So her story would be like, you know what? I'm a nurse. I've taken all kinds of products. Everybody's introduced me to them. I'm a mom of 5 kids. And I honestly did barely had time to look at supplements. I was exhausted. I was tired. I run a very busy department at the hospital, but I was willing to take a look because my friend is a nurse. And when I took a look, I realized they were in the PDR. And she could explain the PDR to somebody depending on who she's talking to. The PDR is what made her take a look. And so she's like, with the minute I learned they were in the PDR, I was all in. I started on all the products, and within a few days, I noticed that my hot flashes are gone. I have more energy, and I am shouting this from the rooftops. And I want everybody to try these products. And I never thought I'd do this as a business, but now I'm sharing it with everybody I know. Like that's her story. And so when she calls up her friend or when she's talking to somebody at the hospital that she works with, and it's like, what are you doing now, Kara? She's like, oh my gosh. And she can share her story. And where she's going with this is she's earned a trip to Cabo. Where she's going with this is she's the number one app user in the company. Tyson announced her on a call a couple weeks ago. A woman that really wanted nothing to do with the business, right? And so she's a great example of somebody we've helped her craft her story. Her story has changed, but it's so powerful. So what makes the story powerful is then when you can help other people take their story and duplicate. So once somebody knows their story and they get plugged into our system, we help them do some very simple steps. So it's the reaching out to somebody. That's the first part. So they have somebody they want to reach out to. We help them be able to share their story with that person. They see if the person is open. And if they're open, we get that proper tool in their hands. So whether it be an op Zoom, a recording of an op Zoom, there was an op Zoom last night, so you can go pull the recording if there's not one coming up soon. A connect call, or we call them three-way calls. Um, a connect call to get them on a call with your upline or a leader to help answer their questions and see if this would be a fit for them. Enroll them and then teach that person to do those steps again. So the steps are to reach out, to share the story, see if they're open, get the proper tool if they're hands. And we don't give them unless I know they're open. So just to be clear about that. So like if I just don't send a video to somebody, I want to know that they're open to taking a look at what we have, and then we send them that tool. Okay. Enroll somebody and then go teach them to do the same. So that's really the steps that we have. So that's it. It's not super complicated. Like you don't have to be a sales expert. You don't need like a marketing degree, a science degree. You guys, I tell my story all the time. I told you my story at the beginning. I didn't talk about a study. I didn't talk about an absorption rate. Like people, I think sometimes talk because they know I love science. I'm like a huge science geek. People think that I'm out sharing like the data, and I'm actually not. I'm sharing my story. But just showing up, sharing, enrolling, and duplicating, and then teaching other people to do the same, that's really where the magic happens. Like the power of this business isn't in what you can do. The power in this business is what you can teach somebody else to do, because that's where it happens. Like that's what starts to happen. And the really cool thing is that you never know where it's going to happen, right? Like I remember in the beginning being told, somebody said, maybe it was Holly, she said, the hardest part of this business is if you're like a control person, because you literally cannot plan it. There are going to be people who you think would be amazing at this business who will not take a look. And there will be people that you in a million years never would have guessed they would take a look at this, but they are. And they're doing the business and they're rocking it. So some of the best leaders we have are people who said, I'm just here for the product. I'm not interested in the business. And now here they are building teams, earning trips, inspiring people, best app users, all the things, right? And so you just never know. And so it's really kind of like moving through people. You're going to find people that want to love the products. You're going to find people that might want to do the business, tiptoe in, tiptoe out, tiptoe in. You're going to find people who are pretty consistent, and then you might find amazing business builder. And that's really the breakdown of how it works. And so really the goal is though to move through that system of helping people and then helping them help people, because you might find somebody 5 down that's a builder or 10 down that's a builder. You're going to help all the people along the way, but what happens when you get to that 10th person who's like, I want to run? And you're like, let's run. We're no more red wagon. We're going to run. All because somebody took the time to help them start. And that's how that cycle goes, that domino effect. If people hadn't been doing the duplication all the way down to the second person, the third person, the fourth person, the eighth person, like that 10th person might not have known what to do. But because the duplication, you make it simple, that's how people can do that. So we've worked really hard on that. Another thing that is so important to me, and this is probably one of my biggest soapboxes, is culture. Maybe it's because it is something I brought from my previous career into this one. So when you talk about culture, we've worked really hard. I'm in Iowa, the Midwest, and one of the things I really wanted was to build an incredible local team. Okay. I love meeting with them. I love doing life with them. I love watching people grow. Sometimes people bring their kids, like things, it's bustling. But that didn't just happen. I wish it did. It didn't. For a lot of times, our meetings were just us, like one person, two people sitting at the coffee shop. People will say to me, "Oh, I wish we had that community you had." I'm like, well, It didn't start like that. Like we actually had to grow it. And we were actually laughing the other day. Like, remember when we were at coffee and we were legit the only people there? But we kept going. And we, over time, new faces started showing up. And then they're like, oh, you've joined the business. Come to this coffee on Friday. This coffee is really cool. And so then new faces started to turn into regular faces and the energy grew. And now we have groups of people, we have multiple coffee shops. We have like a real community. We have coffee in Johnston, Iowa, coffee in West Des Moines, and people are like, oh, you're so lucky. Nope, we built that. And so if you're in a place where you feel like you're doing this alone, I would tell you're not alone, first of all. You are not alone. But you don't have to wait for the perfect team to show up. Just show up. Just start talking to people. If you have a brand ambassador that lives close to you, go meet for coffee and make that a goal. Like, hey, by the end of this month, let's see if we can have another person or two here, right? Start to build that. Maybe you live in an area where you really don't have anybody. Host a virtual coffee chat, right? Like you could get your team together. We do a weekly huddle. That's an example of it. But create that. Invite a person. Help sit down and help those people at those coffee meetings. We don't just chat and drink coffee. That'd be fun if we did, but we do actually work. We help people craft their story. We help them plug in. We help them invite people to take a look at the business or the products. We help get them on a Zoom. So, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It's like we don't show up for coffee looking fancy. Sometimes it's sweatshirts. Often it's a hat. Often I'm with hair that hasn't been washed in how I don't even know how many days. Um, but that's how it works. Like people, you don't need to be, it doesn't even need to be super polished. People just need permission, I think, to be real, to grow, to have a place where they belong. And so we really, really work on that culture because whether it be online or in person, I think that, and again, I learned this, I think, from my previous career, but when people feel like they're part of something, they stay, they share, they build, they want to be a part, they want to go see, do what you're doing. So I think those are just some insights into things we've been doing that are working. I did not think I was a leader, but again, it's not a title. Um, it's not a rank. It's just really a decision when you get up to just show up, to grow, to help people, to learn, to put yourself out there. And that's really what we've done. Just help people cast a vision, help people dream again. I was one of these people that, the thought that I could have both, that I could have time and business really didn't occur to me. And so the fact when I get to talk to people, when I talk to I talk to a lot of healthcare providers because that's my background. But when I talk to a lot of healthcare providers and be like, hey, like this is something that could get you out of the clinic more. This is something that can help you be with your family more because they're burnt out. Like that's a huge thing for me. And to help people build something that they're super excited to wake up to every day and do. I love when people come to Friday coffee. We have people now that sometimes come to Friday coffee. They take off an hour of work to come to coffee. So if you're sitting there wondering, like, how do I do this? And I would just say, if I can go from adjusting spines all day to doing this, like you legit can do it too. Because really, all it is just taking a step at a time, working with people, helping them create their story. Help first have your why, helping them create a story, then helping others do the same. And that's honestly how movements are built. That's how teams grow. That's how we change people. So I'm at 27 minutes. I just did under 30, which I never finish early. But I would just encourage you before you go back to your families or whatever you're doing to sit for a minute and write down your why and really start to write down some notes to answer those questions about your story. Because if tomorrow you can go and just share your story with people, it's going to feel so good to share with people why you're doing three and get them excited to be excited about something too. So have a good night.